Now, the main opposition, NDC, has written to President Akufo-Addo requesting fresh talks on the constitutional provision barring political parties from sponsoring candidates for local assembly elections. The provision in Article 55, Clause 3 of the Constitution was the subject of a referendum, but President Akufo-Addo called off that process, citing the NDC's failure to engage, among others. My colleague Malik Abbas Dabu has details of the statement issued by the NDC chairman Samuel Ofosu-Ampofo, who will also be joined shortly by Dean of Studies and Research at the Institute of Local Government Studies. So we'll take a look at that. But then, but before then, Malik is here, like I said. Malik, thanks for coming through.
Thank you.
So let's, first of all, provide some background, give this conversation some context. Why has this even become a national debate, national conversation at this time?
I think that's essentially because both political parties, the major political parties that is, have put in their respective manifestos that they would want to see MMDCEs elected. And it was a strong campaign that was waged by current president when he was candidate of the MPP, that he would elect MMDCEs. His government, if he won the election, would ensure that MMDCEs are elected. And the generality of the people and a lot of data have shown that Ghanaians have yearned for the opportunity to elect their MMDCEs, because they believe that the practice where the MMDCEs are appointed by the president or nominated by the president and confirmed by the assemblies does not adhere to the benefits of the local people, because these persons, when they get into office, owe allegiance to the appointing authority, i.e. the president. And so the president promised that he was going to do this. So he went to parliament with essentially two bills. One of them was to amend Article 243 of the Constitution, which allows or which empowers the president to so appoint these MMDC, that's Metropolitan, Municipal and District Chief Executives. Now, they went to Parliament again with another one, which had to do with Article 55(3) of the Constitution. Now, this amendment was to allow the current assembly members, and you have an assemblyman, I have one, all of those persons who are not contesting on the ticket of political parties to now be able to do so. Now, this is the matter which generated the controversy, and civil society organizations, notable individuals, then started arguing that given the tempestuous nature of politics at the national level, allowing politics at the local level to also be on the basis of partisanship was likely to degenerate into chaos and acrimony and disharmony and all of that. So they started opposing it. The NDC held a press conference and said they were going for a no vote, which was being called for under this 55(3) amendment, because it's an entrenched provision. On the basis of that, the president then held address the nation specifically on December 1st and said that he had instructed his ministers to go to parliament and withdraw both bills. Okay. I.e., he's essentially quashed the referendum.
This is where we are at the moment.
Absolutely.
And I was hoping that this would give you some background, you know, some context to the conversation that we're going to have. So this afternoon, Malik, we know that the NDC has written to the presidency, and they're calling for what they're calling national consensus. Tell us about their demands. What really do they want?
Well, so you remember that when the president said when the president addressed the nation, he said he was withdrawing those bills until such a time that there is broad consultation, which broad consultation would then lead to a meeting of minds before he will bring back these bills to parliament. The NDC issued a statement, a 4-page statement, which was signed by its national chairman, Ofosu-Ampofo, in which he says that, well, to the extent that the president himself called for a broad national consensus, they want to be part of that broad national consensus. They have set up a committee that will lead discussions that would eventually lead to this broad national consensus. And that committee will be more than happy to meet with the president, and then they table the issues that they would want to discuss at this meeting.
Right.
So the first thing they want to have, they want to discuss is what will be the text of any amendment bill that will be seeking to amend Article 55(3). They want to understand what that text is.
And when they say what will be the text, exactly what does it mean in this context?
So what is the nature of the amendment that you are seeking?
Okay.
That's what they want discussed. Originally, what the nature was simply to say, we are amending Article 55(3) to now allow people to contest on the tickets of political parties to the assemblies.
So they want to know what else you're adding or what else you're taking away from this.
Absolutely. So they want to understand what the text is. Okay. They want to also understand the consequential amendments of Article 248 of the Constitution. Now, if you read Article 248 of the Constitution, it has 248(1) and 248(2). Now, the 248(1) says that any person who puts themselves up to elections at the local level shall do so in their capacity as an individual.
Okay.
And shall not be on the basis of any political party, and shall not use any party colors or any symbol which is associated with any political party. Then the other provision of 248 says that no party shall sponsor, endorse, or campaign for or against any person who is putting themselves up to this election. They want to know how this Article 248 will be amended as well. More fundamentally, they want to know what is going to happen to Article 242D. 242D has to deal with the 30% appointees that the president is empowered by this constitution to appoint. You know that currently the structure is that 70% of the assembly members are elected. The 30% are appointed by the president. And the constitution in 242D says that the appointments will be done in consultation with traditional authorities and other interested persons.
And
the NDC says in this statement
that,
look, the parties have arrogated this to themselves. The chiefs have been complaining. They, NDC, are suggesting that 30% should be left to the chiefs.
So take away the 30% from the president, give it to the traditional authorities.
Absolutely, so that they will be able to make the appointment, because the chiefs themselves have been complaining about this. And so they say the National House of Chiefs should be consulted in the determination of how to make this appointment of the 30%. They want to know what will be the fate of the 5 members of the sub-metropolitan district councils as well.
Yeah.
But the major issue they want are the last 3 issues, or the last 4 issues.
Okay.
Who will bear the cost of the elections if elections to the assemblies is partisan? Who will bear that cost? Who will bear the cost of electing, or the cost of primaries to determine who the party's candidates are?
The parties, of course, but anyway, yes.
So they want to know.
Yeah.
Is it going to be the state? In terms of the elections itself, will the EC continue to conduct it as it's happening now, or the cost will now shift to the parties? If it is primaries, will the state pay for it, or it is the parties that will pay for it? And how would they ensure that assemblies which are considered hostile? So, for example, if you take Ayawasu Sub-Metro, and you go into the assembly there, and the assembly is divided into MPP, NDC. So if MPP is in power, the NDC assembly members, how can their interests be catered for, especially when it comes to the allocation of resources and the citing of projects?
Okay.
They want a determination of that.
Okay.
Of course, we know that currently, you know, we like to play the ostrich, right? We know that currently the assembly members, we know MPP assembly members and NDC assembly members.
And that's one thing that we've been hoping to get Dr. Odrosai of the Local Government Institute to, you know, bring some perspective on this. Because prior to the referendum, which has now been aborted, we had this conversation, and it was clearly stated by all the resource persons that, in fact, they actually go on agreements. So the parties will say, okay, agree to this, we agree to that. And so they've already been running it on a partisan basis. But what do they want the president to do about this? Do they want answers from the presidency, or do they want the committee they say they have put together to engage the presidency?
They want a meeting
going forward
with the president to have deliberations on these matters that they have raised. They believe that those deliberations will feed into whatever broad national consensus that the president was envisaging when he addressed the nation, and then eventually they can find a way forward, whether or not they are going to do partisan, or they are going to continue to do the non-partisan that the system currently is.
Do we know whether the presidency has taken receipt of this document?
No, we don't. The letter, we have a copy. We don't know whether the presidency has taken. We know that if history is anything to go by, remember the matters relating to the vigilante. You know that the NDC wrote, then the government wrote back, the NDC wrote again. There was back and forth, and eventually it terminated. We are anticipating that the government will respond to this letter, and they will set their own set of conditions. there are veiled accusations in this letter.
Okay.
I expect that when the government do right, there will be veiled accusations in that as well. We saw that with the matters relating to the vigilante.
True, true. Malik, thanks a lot. Unless there's any other thing you want to add, we can call it a day.
No, it's fine.
We'll call it a day. Okay, Malik Abbas Dabo is deputy head of our political desk, and he's also head of investigations here at Joy News, helping us with the details of that letter that's meant for the presidency from the opposition NDC, asking for a number of things.